Hello, good day viewers. Welcome to another biology presentation. So in this presentation, we are looking at biology paper 2 for 2016. So this is a paper that was written by G12 Certificate of Education, that is GCE candidates. So we are going to answer question 4. That will be our area of focus. So let's look at the questions. So here is our question 4. The question reads, Figure 4.0 shows feeding relationships of organisms in an ecosystem. So here we have figure 4.0 that is showing the feeding relationships in an ecosystem. So we have grass, grasshopper, snake, hawk, mice. Okay, so these arrows are showing how these organisms are able to feed on each other. So our question A, which of the named organisms represents A producer, B, a primary consumer? So the producer will be presented by grass, and the primary consumer will be presented by the grasshopper. So we have answered our question A. We now move on to the other question. So this is our question B. So under our question B, the question reads, what is the primary source of energy in figure 4.0 above? So in this figure 4.0, what is the primary source of energy? So here we must take note that the primary source of energy in the pyramid is actually the sun. So here our answer is going to be the sun. So we now come to our question C1. So under our question C1, the question reads, state the form in which energy flows from one trophic level to another. So here we understand that the sun is the primary source of energy. So this sun now is going to produce the energy called solar energy. So once this energy is produced, the plants are going to convert this solar energy into a form of energy that is called the chemical energy. So the form in which the energy will be flowing now in the trophic levels from one trophic level to the other trophic level is through chemical energy. So that will be our answer. So we have answered this question C1. We now come to our question C2. So our question C2 reads, explain what happens to the energy named in C1 as it passes from one trophic level to the next. So what will happen to the energy as it's passing from one trophic level to the next is that the energy will be decreasing, starting from the producers, going to the primary consumers, then going to the secondary consumers, and the tertiary consumers. So energy will be lost. Okay, so for example, if you have 5,000 kilojoules of energy from the producers to go to the next level, that energy will be decreased by 10%. So from 5,000 you go to 500. From 500 you go to 50. So you can see that from each trophic level, the energy is being reduced by 10%. Okay, so what happens to the other 90% of the energy is that this energy will be lost through the processes such as the respiration, excretion, and the ejection. Okay, so our answer here, we have said that only 10% of the energy flows from one trophic level to the next, and 90% of the other energy is lost through excretion, respiration, and the ejection. So this is our answer. So we have answered our question C2. We now come to our question D. So here under question D, we have two questions. So we are going to start with our question D1. So our question D1 reads, identify two organisms in figure 4.0 which are both secondary consumers and tertiary consumers. So here we need to identify two organisms in this figure right here, which are going to be the secondary consumers and the tertiary consumers. So one thing we must take note is that when we talk of secondary consumers and the tertiary consumers, I'll start with the secondary consumers. Under secondary consumers, we are talking about organisms that are able to feed on the primary consumers. So as you can see from the producers right here, the grass, we have the grasshopper. So these grasshoppers are the primary consumers. Okay, so these grasshoppers are going to be eaten by the snake. So the snake will be the secondary consumer because it's feeding on the primary consumer. Then the snake will be eaten by the hawk. So the hawk here will be the tertiary consumer, which will feed on the secondary consumer. Okay, so here we are seeing that the hawk again will feed on the grasshopper. Then the grasshopper will be fed on by the mice. Okay, and the mice again will be eaten by the snake. Again, the same mice can eat the what? The grass. Okay, so here we are able to say that the mice will act as a secondary consumer and as a primary consumer. So here we can see that when you look at the hawk and the snake, so these two, you can see the hawk is able to eat the mice, it's also able to eat the snake, and it's also able to eat the grasshopper. So here you can say that the hawk will play both as a secondary consumer and as a tertiary consumer, because the secondary consumer will feed on the primary consumer, and the tertiary consumer will feed on the secondary consumers. So the hawk is going to be both as a secondary consumer and as a tertiary consumer. So what about the snake? We can see the snake will feed on the grasshopper and it also feed on the mice. Okay, and this snake again will be eaten by the hawk. So the snake also can play as both a secondary consumer and as a tertiary consumer. So these are the answers. Okay, so we now come to our question G2 right here. Using named examples in figure 4.0, construct the longest food chain. So we need to use these same examples where we have the grass, the grasshopper, the snake, the hawk, and the mice. So we need to come up with the longest food chain, okay, in words and using the arrows. So in order for us to write the food chain, we must start from the producers. From the producers, we go to the primary consumers. From primary consumers, we go to the secondary consumers, and then we go to the tertiary consumers. So let's see how we can present it using the what? The words. So we are going to start with the diagrammatic presentation where we have the grass. From the grass right here, we are going to have the grasshopper. So this grasshopper will feed on the grass. Then this grasshopper now will be fed on by the what? By the mice. And this mice again is going to be fed on by the snake. And this snake is going to be fed on by the what? By the hawk. So this is how the food chain is going to look. Now remember, you need to write this food chain using the sentences. So I'm going to start with the grass. As we have said, the grass will be fed on by the what? The grasshopper. And the grasshopper will be fed on by the what? By the mice. And the mice will be fed on by the what? The snake. And the snake will be fed on by the hawk. Okay, so this is how you are going to present your work in sentence form. Don't forget to indicate these what? These arrows. Okay, so from here you are able to see that you have the producers, you also have the primary consumers, they are herbivorous, you also have the carnivorous there, as you can see. Okay, so we have now presentation. Thank you so much everybody for watching. This has been your presenter, Mr. Mlenga. Bye bye.